Sunday is a day of rest and a day for not discussing Jesse Lingard. Fortunately, today is Monday, so we're going to discuss him. And not because I'm being mischievous at all, because apparently Manchester United have set a fee of £20 million, as you'll have seen from the title in the video. That's why we're going to discuss him today. And I do feel that this is, well, it's important because we want to buy him. But I feel, having seen a little bit of the reaction, that maybe we might have this slightly wrong. I've noticed a couple of people are a bit, not upset, but a bit worried about it. They think maybe the fee is a little bit too high, and I think this means we won't get him. I disagree, and I'm going to explain why. I don't disagree that the fee is high. I think we'll get him. I think this actually helps us. I think this plays not into our hands, but I think there is a benefit to this. Now, 20 million, I understand why people would think 20 million is quite high for this. I'm not totally surprised. I thought, as I've mentioned a few videos relatively recently, I thought it might be around the £15 million mark. The fact that it's 20 is, it's not like it's 80, is it, or anything like that. It's that or thereabouts. And let's be fair, by the time negotiations have been done, by the time there are add-ons and ratcheted performance bonuses and this, that and the other, you probably will find it's that or thereabouts. But I want to separate two things. I want to separate the quality of the player that you get for that money and the context of the situation in terms of buying a player who has 12 months left on his contract, in particular Jesse Lingard. Because context is always important whenever you're assessing anything. But sometimes it's actually quite important to remove the context because it doesn't apply. In this instance, I don't think it does. Why should you play less for a player with 12 months left on the contract in normal circumstances? Well, because the strength lies with the player. Because the club is not in a great position. The player, in essence, can dig their heels in. A player can say, well, if you don't let me go now, I'm going to run down my contract and I'm going to leave for free. That in turn frightens the club and think, oh, okay, I don't want to get nothing. So they do a deal. Josh King would be a great example. It was a bit of a game of chicken, really, wasn't it? It got to the end and they got halfway through the final year. Josh King had 6 months left on his contract. And in the end, they did a deal because Bournemouth didn't want to lose out totally. Bournemouth wanted something. Everton took advantage of that. Now, I don't think this is exactly the same situation for a very good reason. Even though the players were similar ages, number one, he was making a step up from the Championship. Jesse Lingard isn't. Realistically, he's making a step down. But I don't think Jesse Lingard is going to play hardball on this one. And the reason I don't think he's going to play hardball is because he's not played much football at all. I think for Jesse to say, okay, fine, you're gonna price me out of the market. I'll sit here for a year and I'll go on a free. I'll turn up for training. I won't play. I'll leave. You lose out. Number one, he doesn't seem like that type of lad anyway. Number two, he's not played enough football. And number three, those are exactly the reasons why he left. He left to play football. Now, yes, I do think a large part of that is to work his way into Gareth Southgate's plans, and so as he can feature for the national team, for sure. But I also think it is a general lack of football. Basically, Jesse Lingard can't afford to lose a year of his career. I'll explain why now. Jesse Lingard has played about 230 professional games, senior professional games in his career. He's 28. That's low. That is low. Now, I understand that it's low because he's been at a top club and there have always been good players around him. Manchester United always buy good players. It means it's going to take him longer to find his way and work his way into the team because there's good established players there. And it's going to be harder to keep your place in the team because they're always going to sign big players for 50, 100 million, that sort of thing. However, 28 years of age, 230 is low. I'll give you a couple of examples. Harry Kane, who is, I don't know if it says on a calendar, he's a calendar year younger. It might not, but it might be 9 months. It might be something like that. But you get what I'm saying. Harry Kane is 27. Jesse Lingard is 28. Harry Kane has played 100 games more. 100 games more. Including European competition. You don't start every game. It's about 2.5 seasons worth of football. Depending on Europe and that sort of thing. That's a lot. Jesse's already missed too much. So Harry Kane's played 100 games more. let's take another example. And the reason I want to use this example is Dele Alli. Because Dele Alli's only 24. And I use the example of Dele Alli because I said just before we played Tottenham, I felt he would come back into form. It looked like he was getting back into Jose Mourinho's plans. And I felt this would be one of the players that Jesse would have to contest his England place with. And he's 24. And he has already played 30 more professional games, senior professional games, than Jesse Lingard. And I started to look at a few other players, and however you measure it, against people that he would consider to be his contemporaries. Now, I say this because Jesse Lingard aspires to be an England international. Well, he is an England international. But this is exactly the type of people he should be competing with. He doesn't play many games. I just don't think he's going to want to stay at Manchester United. I don't think he's going to want to stick around and play hardball for a year, or play no ball for a year, should we say. I think he wants to transfer. I think he's going to want to leave. And also, what this also means is far from... This is if you believe the story, and I think I do. Far from Manchester United making Jesse feel wanted, this is probably him having a price tag put on his head has probably made him feel, actually, I am on my way. I guess this sort of works out in Jesse's mind in two ways, this transfer to West Ham. He goes to West Ham, he does well, West Ham do well, the loan becomes permanent and he plays for West Ham. Scenario number one in his mind. But he would only be human, if he had another scenario in his mind where he goes to West Ham, he's absolutely brilliant. Manchester United, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in particular, turn around and say, Jesse, look, we realise the error of our ways. You're a really good player. We haven't given you a fair crack at the whip. We love what you've done at West Ham. We want you to come back and we want you to do that at Manchester United. Bring him into the bosom, so to speak. And I'm also quite sure that it would be quite an easy sales pitch. I don't think Solskjaer would have to work that hard to convince Lingard to go back to Old Trafford. And that would be one of the things that maybe was in his mind, and probably his heart, if he's a Manchester United fan, I think he is, his heart might yearn for in that sense. I think by them saying, actually, we'll take 20 million quid for him, he's probably thought, okay, right, fine, well, it's scenario number one then. West Ham it is. I am conscious that another club can come in, bid the 20 million and steal him away, but I think that's less likely to happen. If a price tag's a price tag, then all we have to do is match it. Then that's done, really, isn't it? You would think so. I mean, I would certainly hope that whilst we don't have a buyout clause, I would, to make the loan deal permanent, I would hope that we have at least negotiated a first refusal and a gentleman's agreement or something like that. So then it really just comes down to Jesse, the relationships that he's made with the players, the relationships he's made with the coaching staff, David Moyes, and from what we can gather, and all we can do is glean little snippets of information from press conferences and interviews and things like that. He seems happy. He does seem happy. So I would suggest that we're in pole position. So if we take both those things as being true, then it brings us on to the final point, which is he worth it? Is he worth 20 million? And this is why I think you have to remove the context. Because if you start thinking, well, hold on a second, no, he's got 12 months left on his contract. I don't know about you. I don't want to play hardball on this. I don't want to wait and have no Jesse Lingard for 6 months or a year. Even if we were confident that he would come to us, yay, nice one, we saved 20 million. I want to watch him in the team every game. I want to watch him play. I want to watch him flourish. I want to watch him enjoy his career. I don't want him to miss a year. And then actually look at the value of that £20 million, by the way. The value of it. Look at what you're getting. I think we can all agree, if Jesse Lingard is on a 5-year contract, playing as he is now for another Premier League team, he ain't costing only 20 million. I don't know, I'll let you put the price in, but take a comparable player. I know James Maddison has just got injured, but these are the people, that's what I'm saying. Let's look at similar positions there. James Maddison's playing well, or Dele Alli's playing well, or any number of players are playing well in this position and looking like one of the best attacking midfielders in the Premier League. And he does, by the way. And he does. It ain't a £20 million purchase. So I would suggest that actually the price tag is quite reasonable. And because I think it's quite reasonable, I think it's something we should do. Absolutely, we should do it. It should be our transfer priority, not meaning that we shouldn't sign somebody else. And the finances of it should be achievable, by the way. They really should. We've got the Sebastian Hair. We lost money on Sebastian Hair. We really did. But I believe there are at least 2 or 3 more payments of annual payments of 4.5 million euros, something like that. Look, we're not going to have to run up when Manchester United ask for the money. We're not going to have to run up there with a suitcase of readies. That's not what's going to happen. It gets spread over the length of the contract. We signed Jesse Lingard. It's going to be 5 payments of, whatever, 4 payments of 5 million quid, something like that. If it's a 4-year deal, probably would be a 4-year deal. Well, we've sort of already got the first 2 or 3 installments of that, really. That's just how it works. Should it overly impact the money for a striker, which is what we need and absolutely is a priority? No, it shouldn't. I feel we should still be able to do that. It does bring into question the making of the Ben Rama deal, and should we have made that permanent? Bearing in mind, I do think if we sign Jesse Lingard, then Ben Rama's opportunities are going to be less frequent. But we're going to discuss that tomorrow, because it's a bit of the elephant in the room, Ben Rama. I want to discuss Ben Rama at length and the situations in, which is going to be tomorrow's video, just so as you know. But I do feel that this is something that shouldn't overly hinder the recruitment process for whoever else it might be. Which sort of brings me on to another article, which is that Blackburn Rovers might play hardball for striker Adam Armstrong. I think for this one, you put the context in. I'm aware I'm placing context in and removing it at will to suit my argument. But hey, it's my video, so I'm doing. Blackburn Rovers are going to demand 25 million for striker Adam Armstrong, based on the fact that Ollie Watkins at 28 million had done so well at Aston Villa. Right, firstly, I don't think we're in for this player. I spoke to an agent, and some of you will be able to do your own, put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. I've spoken to an agent over the last 24 hours. They said this is agent talk. This is an agent trying to talk the story up to get his client to move, or to get the price up, or whatever the case may be. They ain't getting 25 million. They're not in a position to play hardball. I feel, actually, I don't feel a bit sorry for Blackburn, because I do feel that they've put themselves in this position because of the way the club has been run over the last few years, and with the Venky's takeover and everything that happened there. I think they were very, very silly, actually. And so to find themselves in this situation, but I do feel sorry for the fans, let's put it that way. But they're not in a position to be demanding whatever money. The arse has yet to fall out of football finances, and it's about to do so. And I understand I've just been suggesting West Ham should spend a lot of money on a couple of players, but we have borrowed to facilitate exactly doing that. We've borrowed quite heavily. I understand the finances are there for us to draw on. Should we do that? I don't think this is West Ham's guy. Okay, I really don't. I don't think I like him. I think he's quick, but I just don't see him in the Moyes mould. I see him pull wide. I see him take shots early. I like players that shoot. He's a bit like Harry Kane often shoots early. You'll often think there's a player in the way, or he's not quite going to shoot yet, and he shoots and he scores. This guy is not like Harry Kane, but he shoots early. He doesn't require much space to score his goals, if you know what I mean. But I don't ever look at him and think, oh, that's a David Moyes type player. I just don't. I'd be very, very surprised if this one happened. And I thought that before I spoke to any agent on the phone anyway. So that brings you to Sima at Slavia Prague. Now, Sima scored a fantastic goal against Leicester City, wasn't it, to put them out of the Champions League. Slavia Prague are quite an impressive outfit. It has to be said. I take it they've lost 2 of their best players in Soufal and Souček. If they haven't, and they've got better players than Soufal and Souček, then we want to go and buy some more of them, really. But for them to lose 2 of their better players and still be in the latter stages in Europe, then they're clearly doing something very, very right. And I think it's easy sometimes to look at some of the lesser leagues, not Serie A, not the Bundesliga, not the Premier League. I think, how good can their teams be? How good can their players be? I'm imagining they've got a very good manager. I'm imagining they've got some very good recruitment going on, and they must be a very, very well-run club, because they seem to be holding their own when they go into European competition against teams with a lot more money than they have. So I don't think this guy can be discounted, this Sima. He looks good. From what I've seen, he looks decent. He's tall, he's gangly, he's good in the air. Seems to shoot, funny enough, I was going to say shoot early. Seems to pick out players quite well. Whilst he doesn't look the typical sort of wide player, he does have an ability to drift out wide. He also manages to get his head up and pick out a cross or a dinked pass or something like that. He's got some assists. He's got a good number of goals. I wouldn't be disappointed if we got this guy. I still think Youssef En-Nesyri is the chosen one, so to speak. I certainly think that. But I looked at this guy, and the more I see of him, and it's not just YouTube clips now, because now we're getting him to see him play against English opposition that we know everything about Leicester. Leicester not easy team to play against, obviously. Arsenal might disagree, and that's gone really well for us, hasn't it, of course, over the weekend. But I think it's interesting. I know we've just had a transfer window, and it's not quite hotting up. But I do think this is gonna be really, really interesting. This is going to be the two stories that play out over the upcoming build up to the next transfer window and the end of the season, which I do think the end of the season is going to come very, very quickly because games are running out. It's going to be the striker situation. It's going to be Jesse Lingard. But I see no reason at all why we can't pay 20 million in instalments for Jesse Lingard and 30 million pound for a striker. Get it done. And I'll tell you what, it would massively improve the team. I was just about to finish the video yet, but there was something else that I wanted to say, which was back on the Lingard one. We can't afford to lose Lingard because I think the team, here's the other one, you always sign players to try and better the team, improve the team, right? Bringing in a striker, bringing in another player, improves the team, it improves the squad, gives Moyes more strength. I have no doubt about it, and here's why we must sign Jesse Lingard. Because for us to lose Lingard and lose out to him would totally weaken West Ham. Not massively, as I've said before. We got up to fourth without Lingard, but sometimes the missing piece of the puzzle or the cherry on top or whatever you want to call it. I've no doubt in my mind we would be a significantly weaker team if we missed out on Jesse Lingard. And what's worse, I don't think Man United would want to keep him. We'd probably have to be like a jealous husband watching his wife eloping with somebody else whilst he went and paraded his wares, flashed his knickers at us whilst he was playing for Southampton or something like that. I don't fancy that. Let's sign a fella up.